Hello and welcome back. This is Trisha Jakyani and I'm here again with another tutorial on Power Pivot. In this tutorial, I'm going to introduce you to basic calculation techniques available in Power Pivot. There are two types of calculations in Power Pivot, and they are calculated columns and measures. While standard formulas like sum or average is not required to be created, it is easily available in simple pivot table that we have seen where we drag the information into the values and you can see your simple sum, average, max, min that you want to create that you can easily do from the values column. You do not need any data model or even any Power Pivot to actually create that kind of data in this pivot. So if I want to do a count also, I can just drag it and I get the count here. However, you may create the custom formulas or calculations that cannot be performed in a simple pivot table by using the Power Pivot DAX functions. We will explore the DAX function in length in my following videos. As of now, in this tutorial, I will only show you how simple but custom calculations can be performed in Power Pivot. So let's talk about both the types of calculations in length. I'll begin with measures. Measures can only be used in the value fields of the Power Pivot or the pivot table. But if you want to create a calculated column or if you want to create a column or a calculation which can be used in the other parts of your pivot table, then you will need to create a calculated column. So the difference is that the calculated columns can be used in any of these four quadrants. It can go in values, it can go in rows, it can go in report filters, it can go in columns as well. Another major difference is that the measures are used to perform aggregated calculations like sum, average. However, the calculated columns are used to perform text functions as well. So it can be used to do any kind of calculations, maybe related to the text, maybe related to aggregations, anything that you want to do can be done. The third difference is that the measures are a calculated cell, or rather, I would say the full one's formula which calculates the whole data and it gives you one answer. And it is added to your field here. While your calculated column is calculated in each of the rows, just like if I want to do a VLOOKUP here, I will do a VLOOKUP to identify, like just like in Excel when we do a VLOOKUP, we do a VLOOKUP and perform the VLOOKUP in each of the cells to get the result in all the full column for each of the rows here or each of the cells in that column. Similar to the Excel functions which can be used in every cell, your calculated columns work in the similar fashion. The only difference between this is the Excel, you can perform separate calculations in each of the cells, but in Power Pivot that is not allowed. In every cell in the calculated column, it will automatically pick up what you have put in the first cell. So we will read this in length when we are performing it. So let's begin now. I'm using the same formula which we used in our relationship tutorial, and here you had seen in the relationship tutorial that how we created the relationship between the three different tables, and then we used the Power Pivot method or the data model method to drag the right information into the pivot table and create a pivot table with all the three sheets linked to each other without performing any kind of VLOOKUP or any other functions. Now, let's see how you can actually perform a calculations or perform any functions inside the Power Pivot. What I'll need to do is I will go onto the Power Pivot window, go on to the Manage window, and here you will be able to see all the three tabs which we had already exported into the or added to the data model, and so you can see it here. I'm going to go on to my sales data where I have the information about the sales or the revenue that is being generated, the quantity that has been sold, and the profit that I have earned out of that particular sale. Here you can see that all the information is provided, but there is one more additional information that I have received from the sales team that there was a commission that was paid out of the sales amount that was generated. Now this commission went to the dealers. So it went to the dealers or anybody who is working on the sales. Now what I need to identify is this is my per product sale price. This is the quantity that I have earned. I can always rename it at the sale price. This is the quantity that I sold. So sale price multiplied by quantity would be the total revenue that I have generated. And this is the profit that is given to me, but this is the gross profit. Now, I need to identify what is the commission that I have paid for each of the sale quantity here. So in order to identify the commission that is being paid for each of this product ID which was given here, what I'll need to do is I'll have to create a calculated column. That means for every product, I'm going to identify the sales that is done, that is the sales price multiplied by the quantity, and from that, 10% is my commission that I have paid out. So what I'll do is I'll start with entering the name of the column. So I'll just say column name as this, and with the colon, which is two dots, then I put a equal to. After putting this part will become my column header. And after equal to, I will start or begin with working on how to add the formula onto the column. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding a new column. This is what I'm doing here is calculated columns. We will see measures. So just one more thing that I would want to highlight is when you are doing it on each of the rows, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the 10% of the commission for the sales done in each of the rows for each of the products. This part is where you add the column with your calculation is called as calculated column. Now when you go down, this part where you see just below your data where you have this is your this is the top portion is actually your database. This below portion you do your measures or you perform your calculations, which is called as measures. So we are going to start with, like I said, the calculated column. So let's see how does that done. Keep my cursor in the first column and it already says add column, so I can directly begin here. Go to the formula bar and say commission. If I want to add a name to the header name that I want to give, if I don't give a header name, directly start with equal to, Power Query will automatically pick up a name to it. So I say commission colon and then equal to. After equal to, I'll start with my formula. My formula is sales. Okay, so it is automatically taking look at this. It says sales. Why is it taking sales? Is because the name of this sheet is all or name of this file is also sales. So it says sales multiply by the quantity. Now when I say this, what it is doing is it is going to multiply both of this and this will only give me the total revenue. So, but I need to multiply this into 10% to get the 10% commission. So before I do, just like the BODMAS that we had learned in school, we are going to ensure that we put a bracket so that this is multiplied first. The sales price into the quantity. Once I've done that, I can multiply this and get the 10%. So I will say 10% as my commission. Once I do an enter, it will start calculating, but the problem here is it will not take the percentage as it takes in Excel. In order to perform a percentage here, I will have to use the simple calculation method. You would have also noticed that it automatically gives a red underline under the percentage sign. That means it is not taking this, it is not taking that syntax right. Just like you have a syntax in Excel, it's similar to that. So what I need to do, I cannot put a percentage sign here, so I'll have to divide it by 100, just like we do when we use a calculator, or rather when we are doing any other calculation. In calculator also percentage sign is allowed, but in Power Pivot you can't do that. You have to actually say divided by 100. So once I do that and press enter, you will see that how the new column is automatically added at the end, and you can see that the name to the header is automatically added and the calculation is also done.
Congratulations on completing the business dashboard using Excel course. Ready to elevate your career? Join our postgraduate certificate in data science and AI and gain exclusive benefits like a complimentary Python programming bootcamp, 7 plus case studies, dedicated student support, and access to our job opportunities portal. Don't miss out on this chance to transform your career. Invest in yourself today and join our program. Click on the link in the description to enroll now and take the next step in your career journey.
So what it has done is sales multiply by quantity, whatever the revenue is, multiply by 10% to identify the commission. Now this is the commission that I have identified. What I need to do is I want to create a new column, one more column, which will have the net profit. Why did I do this? I can easily do that in any other cell also, but in the power pivot, pivot table also. But I wanted to create one more calculation which could minus these two together. So in order to do this, what I'll do is, in order to identify the total or the net profit, I'm going to give the name as net profit colon equal to, and I will start with saying the profit which is mentioned here minus the commission that is being given. If I've already given the commission here, that means that I do not have that much profit available with me. But there is one more thing that I would like to highlight here. Before we go there, the profit that is given to us is just the profit that we have earned from one product. So what we'll need to do is, we will have to, or one unit, the unit number is given. So what I'll do have to do is, I will multiply the profit, rather first give the name. So I'll say net profit. So I will colon equal to, I'll take the profit, multiply that with the quantity. This becomes my proper gross profit, and I'm going to minus this with the commission. So I've got the profit which I have earned from this, and then I minus the commission that I have had to pay. Now if I press enter, see what happens. So it is calculating, and you can see the header is now net profit, and this is the profit that I have earned. So this is the profit that I had earned earlier, but this is just one product or one unit profit that I had earned. I have got the net profit out of this. Now that I have done this calculation, what I need to do is, I need to, if you go and see these two calculated columns that you have added, now if you go and create a pivot table out of this calculated columns, the pivot table will already have these two columns added there. So I'm going to go on to the pivot table and create one into the new sheet. Here what I'll do is, because I have the sales data, I'll go on to the sales, and you can easily see the commission and the net profit is already given here. I can carry the net profit and see what is the amount that I'm getting. There is a loss that I have incurred on this particular file. Anyway, so I'm going to go back, go to manage screen, and here I have got this is called as the calculated column. Now let's see what is the calculated, the measures, which is where you just enter data in one cell. Now this measure is used to identify maybe the average, the sum, or something like that which you are trying to identify. From this list, you can do that. How can you do that? I will just create a column just like I did it for the previous one. So I will call it sum net profit. I can just say after that colon and equal to, and I can say the name. Sorry, I can enter the sum, and then I can call it the sum sales. Why I'm putting the name of the table also, so that it becomes easier for me to read it later on when I come back to see where is it the calculation coming from. If I press enter now, what is it doing is, it is creating a measure for me. You will see down here, and you can see that the measure is already created, which is called as sum net profit. I need to actually get, or I can just call it total net profit or something which is more easier to understand. Now that I have got the net profit or the net loss, whatever the amount is, the benefit of doing this is that you can actually also format this data in such a way so that you don't have to go back and format it every time. So here you can see that this has been formatted in such a way that there are so many decimal places. I can reduce the decimal place here to show it in a smaller number. I just want to keep, let's say, 2 decimal places. So here we are. Easier way, another way to do that, just like you could do it in Excel, right click, go to format. Your format cell dialog box opens up. You can say numbers, you can say thousand separator, decimal number if you want to, and then say 2 decimal places. That can also be done with this data. So here you have this information which is available. Now it is showing in the minus sign. Instead of if you didn't want to do the net profit here, you could have easily done the calculation here, a simple calculation which says sum of profit minus. So if I want to delete this, I can easily delete this by selecting it and right click and then say delete column. I don't need this calculation at all. I can directly do the calculation in the total net profit also. So I have deleted it. Now there is only commission. The easier way now to do is, I can just call sum of the sales profit that we have earned So I'll have to multiply this with my sales quantity or the sales, I'll call it sales, and I'll use my quantity table or the column, close the bracket. This will give me the sum of sales of quantity and the sales. But again, that throws an error. This is throwing an error because we are doing a sum of sales profit into sales quantity, which is not the correct information. What we need to do is really, we need to do a sum of sales multiply by, sorry, sum of profit multiply by sum of quantity. When we do this, you can see that there is no error here, but there will be a little bit of a issue here, which will come to. Okay, it's throwing an error because we have left the sum in the start as well with the, we have not closed the bracket here because our sum is closing here. We need to close the bracket here. So now when you can see that sum of sales profit, which I remove the brackets, extra brackets that are there, it automatically throws the right number. However, now if I do a minus of sum of commission, let's try that what it throws. And if I close the bracket, it will give me the result, but the result looks incorrect. Now, why is this happening is because there is no sum product. That means you have to multiply each one of them to get the result. So hence, we cannot really use this, but this is just for an example. I showed you how you can actually perform your measures also down. So if you had a simple data that you want to do sum of profit minus sum of sales, sum of commission, then it would have been a easier way to perform the calculation. Now that you know that how you can perform calculations on the calculated columns and the measures, you can actually do it using any formulas or functions. Not only this, this will, which we have just identified, will also be available in your pivot table that we have created. So I'm going to go back and keep my net profit on so that I get the right information. I say profit multiply by the quantity. I have to add the brackets in the start and the end, and then say minus the commission. So now it will give me the right data that I was looking for, just like the previous one. Calculating, here we go. And if you want to see what it is giving you, you can again go back and change it to calling as sum of net profit. Again, you can call it only net profit also, which is also fine. There is no harm in doing this. But what happens is when you are coming back and you want to try Power Pivot can get complicated if you don't see the formula correctly. So it would be easier if you see which table it is connected to. When you do advanced formulas and functions, DAX functions, when we are doing the advanced part, you will see that it will be difficult for you to identify which particular uh, table is it connected to. As of now, we are doing the same table, so it's not required. But let's get used to using the table name also in the start. Now, when I press an enter, the data automatically changes to showing the negative number here. And like we had already seen, you can always format it so that you can easily update your data here. Going back, and now I have already got the data here. I'm going to refresh it and go back to our pivot table that I have. Now, if I go back to my pivot table and refresh my pivot table, you will see the new data that is added as a measure. So the measure, like I said, can only be used in your, I'm not going to close this for now. I'll just minimize it. So let's see what happens. Right click and refresh it. It's loading now. Now that it is refreshed, it is automatically, if you take it down, you can see the same numbers that is showing. Again, of course, you can take only this measures in only and only in your values column. But if you want to add the commissions in your rows, that can be easily done. But if you try to add this measures, which is mentioned by FX, if you try to put it in the rows, it will not let you. That is the difference between the measures and the calculated columns, because calculated columns you can also perform functions with it, which is used on the text functions like concatenate. You can also perform VLOOKUP. You can perform a lot of other things that you do on the Excel uh, table or as a normal text function, which we will see in the further or the following tutorial. So please keep watching for this. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.